and what I find out is what I find is usually the best content is unscripted, right? So when I started doing this, I was like, that's why I'm going to do it. I don't care. I mean, I can baffle as long as my guest doesn't mind it. I'm going to baffle like an idiot sometimes, but I'll cut that out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you remind me how we got connected?
So yeah, absolutely. So is on Facebook. It had to be on Facebook. And the reason I say that is, you hear this saying, or I've heard it, it seems like the more I expand my circle of folks, the more I hear the saying, but it's basically you are a sum of the 5 people you're around the most, right? So I'm very much an introvert. Now I do very good behind a keyboard and a camera, but I'm not very outgoing as far as going to meet new people. So social media is great for me. So I started just friending people who had like-minded interest. And I think that's how we got, I know that's how we got connected. Luckily you accepted. And then I saw your book come out.
Yeah.
Or it's about to come out. You posted something about which cover. You're getting some feedback on the cover, which I want to know which one you decided, see if it was the one I chose. So, and that's when I saw the title, I'm like, this should be a perfect guest to come on and talk. So make sure we talk about that. And I've got some couple questions around it. So
for sure. All right. Let's roll.
And everything we just talked about is going to be included because I hit record. So if you're good, I'm
okay.
So I was doing my research on you. I've got one question. It was on your profile that you said you hike. I don't even know if I'm going to say this right. Well, let me back up. So I'll do an intro. I'll cut this part out. I'll do an intro for you. I'll grab it off of your financial impact page. It's financialimpact.com, right?
Yep.
Okay. Please tell me how to say your last name.
Morphew.
Morphew.
Morphew. It comes from Morpheus, the Greek god of sleeping and dreaming.
That should be my last name. That's my wife would say, well, that's you. Yeah, that's Morphew. Okay. Which is funny. So our W2 Capitalist group started, when I started it, I wanted a mascot. I didn't really know what to go for as a mascot. So I thought, well, who is the Greek god of wealth? So we ended up with Plutus. That's the little figurine. As much as my son says that, hey, that looks like you, Daddy, it's not me. I'm not a Greek god yet, but one day.
One day.
One day. But I was doing my research on you, and you have something in there that says hike 14ers.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
A 14er.
14. Yeah. What's a 14er?
Okay. 14ers are Colorado's highest mountains.
Okay.
14,000 feet high.
Okay. I was going to say either there's 14 of them or it's an elevation thing. So
yeah. So to put that into perspective, Mount Everest is 28,000 feet.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I believe Aconcagua is 23. So, 14's pretty high. I mean, once you get above tree line, you're huffing. Every step is a slow step.
Now, what is the tree line? What elevation is that? 11?
Around 10, 11.
Okay. So, I don't know what the highest point in Florida is. It might be 500 feet, which is where I'm at, right? And you're in Colorado, correct?
Right. Yep.
So is there, how many 14ers are there in Colorado?
Oh, that's a good question.
But your goal is not just to hike the ones in Colorado, right? It's
my goal, my bucket list item, I have many of them, but one of them is to hike every mountain range in the world before I die.
And where are you on that goal?
So I've hiked in Indonesia. I've hiked Machu Picchu, hiked all over the US, hiked in Europe.
Nice.
So I want to get a big map and start pinpointing all the ranges.
Making the pins, yeah. I had that ambition too when I was in my early 20s. This is I don't even know why I'm going here, but my buddy and I, we sat on a 3-day hike, trek, whatever you want to call it. And we come up on a spot is in Chihuahua State Park in Alabama, which is the highest spot in Alabama. And it's like 3,500 feet. Okay. So, but we were 6 miles in and we get into this clearing where there was a bunch of debris and whatnot. And turns out there was a plane crash the night before. We were the first two people to discover the plane crash and the people in it. It was a single engine Cessna plane. So my first time to ever see a dead body outside of the funeral home in that shape. And I was like, I am scarred forever. I had nightmares for a long time. And that was the last time I actually went hiking. So I kind of took that as a sign as I don't need to be in the woods anymore. So
what a story. How long ago was that?
That was about 20 years ago. Yeah. Yeah. It was wild. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. So you and I connected on Facebook. You have a book coming out. It's called Light About Money. It's Light, not like Miller Lite,
Correct.
Light About Money. But what really caught my eye was the busy professional's guide to creating wealth and feeling powerful and confident when it comes to money, which I think is just a subject that I'm interested in. So when it comes out, I looked on Amazon earlier and I thought it may be ready for pre-sale already, but I didn't see it. So unless I'm searching wrong, it's not ready yet, right?
Yeah, you're not. My goal was, so I wrote this book in 3 months. I came back from a couple of conferences last year and just was on fire and had clarity like, never before. And I've already written Master Your Money and Crush Your Debt. And so I thought I'd put this book out, just, an ebook, get it up on Amazon. But I really want to put out something awesome. And so now I have a couple publishers that I'm talking with. So it will be out this year.
Okay. You'll have to, so no date yet, but it is,
no date yet.
But you're already deciding on the cover photo. Okay. So for those of you listening, Holly posted something on her Facebook page or personal Facebook page, right? Mm-hmm. About, hey, which cover should I choose? I voted for one, but which one did you end up going with? Do you want me to tell you which one I went with first? So I thought the one with the black dress looked very much more professional. Mm. So that's why I voted for that, given the title of the book.
Yes.
But your face is telling me you didn't go with that one.
No, you're right. I went with number one. I went with number one. Yes. And actually, you don't usually put your face on a book, right? I mean, some people do.
I've never written a book, so I don't know.
But the reason I did this is because it truly is the culmination of the 13 years that I've been a financial coach. This is just a simple system. You follow it, you put the pieces in place and you build wealth. Every day you are either building wealth or you're not. It doesn't matter how much money you make. What matters is how much you keep and what you do with it. So I just decided I'm going to put all of this coaching, like my whole coaching program is in this book.
Nice. Okay. So let's talk about your coaching experience, because I noticed on financialimpact.com, you've got a blog, you've got a lot of different stuff going on there. And I want to get into one of your posts here in a minute, but I've never had a financial coach or a financial consultant or advisor, and are those interchangeable terms or no?
A financial coach or a financial consultant?
Or a financial advisor, are all those kind of interchangeable?
I would say there's a big difference between a financial coach and a financial advisor.
Okay.
And there is. A financial advisor is the person you go to help you invest the money that you already have. A financial coach is the person you go to help you create wealth.
Okay.
And this has been my career-long mission, if you will, is to help people understand that, not everyone is born into wealth, and not everyone has $1 million portfolio that they can just shop financial advisors to, put into different funds. There's a process of creating wealth, and that's the missing link. And that's why I started out teaching personal finance in 2006, is because I didn't get any financial education in school. I just am one of the lucky ones who grew up talking about money and real estate and business at the dinner table with my parents, because they're entrepreneurs and their parents were entrepreneurs. So I learned about money and then started teaching personal finance alongside my other entrepreneurial endeavors, like investing in real estate, like working with startup companies.
Right. So, by the way, you're not the only one that was failed by whatever, I don't know if it was public or private school system, but it's amazing, even in the college level, how they don't teach you how to budget, personally, how to generate money, right? it's almost like they're, and I apologize, my kids just got home, and you're probably gonna hear a small what sounds like a small pterodactyl in the background, but it's really my 2-year-old daughter. Anyway, but it's amazing how in any level of school there is very little talk about here's how you create personal wealth, right? Because I guess if you look at the educational institution, it is driven. It is driving. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but you can. I'm sorry. Driving education is driving people to get a job and go to work for the rest of their life, right?
And be a consumer.
And be a consumer. Yes.
And carry debt. I mean, the economy is set up so that we spend a lot of money on education, we get a job, and we get approved for loans that keep us just on the edge of being indebted, which, you know, debt can be used as a tool. So I'm very much in the middle of, I don't believe that debt is evil at all. You know, I believe that debt can be used to build wealth if it's used responsibly. But yeah, you know, the system sort of is set up to keep wealth a secret, and it's just not. Wealth is for everyone.
And you started this coaching business in 2006, which would have been a really good time to do it, except for what happened in the next couple of years, right? So that had to be, I can't imagine what you're going through in your mind, like, what the heck was I think? I mean, how did that affect your coaching business? Maybe it helped a lot, right? Because people were in financial strain, or you know, nobody was really, or at least nobody I ran around with was really prepared for kind of what happened. But so talk to me a little bit about that. How did that affect you? Did it help? Did it hurt? What was the idea there?
Well, ultimately it helped me. But in 2006, when I started teaching personal finance, I was teaching it through Rotary International. I actually proposed this idea that, you know, I said, look, why don't I go to local high schools and start teaching kids who are getting ready to graduate from high school about money, you know, and about what it means to get this degree and graduate with it, and what your entry-level salary will be, what your life will be like, and kind of start from the end and work backwards. Because what I found is that I bought my first house when I was almost 25 years old. I built it. So I purchased it when I was 24. It was completed when I was 25. And I looked around and I wondered, why aren't any of my friends doing this? Because it really was empowering for me. You know, I immediately got a couple of roommates. They were helping me pay my mortgage.
Yep.
And so at the time I had a job. You know, I had a full-time job. I was working for a home builder. I worked in real estate for 6 years, the beginning of my career. And so when I started teaching personal finance, I was teaching it as a service project. So it was not a business yet. Okay. And that workshop was wildly popular. I mean, I had parents of kids asking me, hey, when's your next workshop? Maybe I can come in and sit in on it. And that's when I started thinking, oh, everyone needs financial education, not just young adults, and even now I'm working with people in their 50s. Primarily, I'm working with people in their 30s and 40s. You know, they're earning money. They just don't know what to do to get ahead. You know, it's right. About putting your dollars to its highest and best use.
And so, go ahead. Sorry.
You know, and so no one's teaching that. It's getting better. You know, Colorado is one of the first states to make financial education a part of curriculum, not a mandatory part of curriculum, but a part of curriculum. And there are all these great organizations now, like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, that's putting out some great financial education, and lots of them. NEFI is another great one. So our access to personal financial education now, you know, you just do a quick Google search and you can learn how to crush your debt and, you know, how to invest in real estate, but you have to really seek it out.
Yeah. And how do you know, I figure out how to word this, but when I started this, basically, you know, connecting with you and other like-minded folks, you know, just we'll take social media for an example. What's in my feed today versus what it was a couple of years ago is tremendously different, right? As because of who I'm virtually hanging around with. So as you start to see, and I've started seeing more investors, and I'm thinking, man, has this world existed this entire time, or am I just hitting it at the right time and it's just blowing up, right? From a real estate investing standpoint. And what I'm led to believe, it's always been there. right? And it's been one of these kind of secrets behind the door, but it's also gaining some momentum, not as much as I would like for it to for my personal friends, because I will have conversations with them about what I'm doing from a real estate standpoint, and they'll tell me how risky it is. They're, but they're not knowledgeable about it, right? But they'll tell me how risky it is and how they can't see how I'm doing that, and blah blah blah. But in the same conversation, they're smiling and telling me the about those stock market losses they just had last week and how they're not doing good in that, but they're smiling about it. And I'm like, man, there's a disconnect somewhere, and I just can't figure out what that is. So maybe it's my presentation, because ultimately I want them to get where I'm at, right, or surpass where I'm at. But it's that whole mindset of got to get rich now, right? So I don't know. There's something there that I can't put my finger on. But anyway, what does a normal coaching session, and maybe normal is kind of too broad, but what does a normal coaching session with you look like? Like, what could I expect if I said, hey, Holly, I need some financial coaching? Because I probably do, because I've never had one, and I don't know what I don't know. And you mentioned conferences earlier, which I realized we were both at FinCon last year. And anyway, so
are you going to be there this year?
We're trying to. It's in DC, right? So we have, anytime I take a trip like that, we try to make it a family trip. But by September, we'll have a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and about a 3-month-old by then.
Wow.
So
yeah.
I don't
Congratulations on that upcoming. Exciting. I have a brother and a sister. So, I come from a family of 5, and
nice.
It was a glorious childhood. I'm very close to my brother and my sister.
And were you the oldest, youngest, in the middle?
I'm the middle.
Okay.
Yes.
And so I have one older brother. We're 13 months apart, and we fought like cats and dogs growing up. So having a daughter has really opened my eyes. Even, she's just 2, but like, I do not know what to do with raising a little girl. I don't know what to do. So my wife is luckily, and we don't, she had 2 older sisters. So she's definitely stepping up big time on that one. The other thing too, we don't know what the third one is. So we didn't find out on any of the kids, but I'm more anxious to find out now than, I don't know why, just, and selfishly, I want it to be another little boy.
Yeah.
but anyway, but what does a coaching session with you look like, right? And now I'll let you know if I'm coming to FinCon. We've got to figure that out. But
I just found out my panel was accepted, so I'm speaking this year.
Okay, awesome.
You have to come to my panel.
Absolutely. So when you say a panel, so it's going to be you and a few other folks up there just fielding questions from the audience?
Yep, we're talking about how to build a financial coaching business.
Oh, wow. Okay. Which is a great place to do at FinCon, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm a pioneer as far as financial coaches go. When I first started doing this, I didn't know what to call myself. And there was a lot of confusion around, are you a financial advisor? Are you a counselor? I actually have 4 certifications.
Okay.
So, and none of them have the word coach in it. I just am a natural coach. I coached high school volleyball for 14 years. And that's my style. I really want to help people discover the truth that is already within themselves and help them tap into their potential. I mean, creating wealth is just a system. It really is. I mean,
right.
You asked what is a coaching session like? So I offer 2 different programs. I offer a 3-month program with the option to continue on for 3 more months. And then we focus on that passive income, the additional income stream, whether someone has an online business or they want to start a business or they want to invest in real estate. So it's all about, once you accomplish those pillars of financial independence, then you move into, all right, well, if you want to crush your debt even faster or build your lighthouse fund, which is what I call an emergency savings account, even faster, then how do you create additional income in your life that's going to be sustainable? And ultimately, my goal was always to not have to go to a job. But the thing about it is that I love the name of your podcast, Jay, W2 Capitalist, because this is what I teach. When you have a job, it is your greatest responsibility to make the most of all of the benefits that you're getting and to really know your numbers, know what you're bringing in, know what you're putting out, and know what your goals are. Because if you know that, you want to quote unquote retire when you're 45. By the way, I don't even really like to use the word retire.
Retirement's dead. Retirement's dead. It's not even, it's non-existent for our generation. There's no way.
Let's talk about reality. Does anyone really think that a millennial graduating with the average $30,000 in credit card debt with we know that income has flattened since the 1970s. It has, but the cost of living has gone up. The cost of education has gone up. Debt is on the rise. I mean, we've done, basically three things to account for that flattening income and rise in lifestyle. And that's number one, women have joined the workforce. Number two, we're working longer hours or multiple jobs, right? Jobs, quote unquote. And number three, we're taking on more debt. And, high consumer debt is a KPI of our economy, a key performance
indicator.
Yes, of a healthy economy. So if that doesn't tell you anything, that when consumer debt goes up, the economy is healthy, is that really good for the little person who's trying to get ahead and create wealth? Not necessarily.
Nope.
So it comes down to knowing what is the highest and best use of every dollar that you're earning every month, whether you have a full-time job, a part-time job, you're an entrepreneur and your income is inconsistent, and then knocking out the pillars in a certain order, right? So, first you got to take care of yourself. The whole point of wealth and financial independence, right? And that's what I call retirement now. Financial independence, the ability to pay for your expenses with income you receive from sources other than a job. If a job isn't, a lot of people love their job. They love I work with a lot of career-driven leaders. These are, people in the trades, doctors, engineers, attorneys, people who, love their 9 to 5 and they're going somewhere with it and it fulfills them. But, if you've got a cap on your W-2 job of say, I don't know, 80, 90, 100K, then what do you do to supplement that? And there are infinite ways to create money in your life in this economy.
And it's, that was one of the things that I struggled with and drove me to create, basically a Facebook group, which has led to the W2 Capitalist podcast. The Facebook group, I'm getting tongue tied. The Facebook group is real estate investing for the W2 employee, right? And so that's how this all kind of has evolved. But what I realized is that the financial goals that I had set for myself and for my family, I wouldn't be able to get with just a W2 job alone, right? And I was like, what else can I do? And we'd always been interested in real estate, and I've got a lot of material on how we got started and all that stuff. But you are correct, and you keep mentioning pillars, which is funny because in our W2 Capitalist Mastermind group, we're going through we're recording this in the month of April. We're going through the 10 Pillars of Wealth by Alex Becker. Are you familiar with that book? Is that what you're referencing? No. Okay.
No, these are my pillars.
Those are your pillars. Okay. So the Pillars of Wealth by Holly Morphew, right? So,
right.
So how many, let's talk about that for a minute. What are the different pillars that you see that someone needs to establish to be on the road to creating wealth, right?
Yeah. So the first thing that anyone should do to start creating wealth in their life is identify their impact factor. And your impact factor is the money you have left over after you pay your bills. That's it. So first you're going to add up your monthly income. Then you're going to add up your monthly expenses. Then you're going to subtract your expenses from your income. And that's the money that you have to work with. And some people might have $100. Others might have $1,000. And then others might look at their expenses and see where they can trim expenses, or look at their income and start thinking, I really like my lifestyle as it is. I don't want to trim any expenses, but I also want to create wealth. How do I do it? You have to increase your income. And that's where, you can do, I call it short-term, quick cash, you
Yeah.
know, and increase in the next 2 to 3 months, or
Right.
you can do something now that's going to pay off big down the road.
Yeah. So, and there's, one of the things, I guess, misnomers that I pinned on myself when I started this journey was that whatever lane I choose to go into, it's permanent. It's not the case, right? There are different seasons you're going to go through. Like we'll go through, usually it's around Christmas time, usually Q4. We will alter our saving habits to have a little bit better lifestyle, right? We'll take a little extra trip. We don't necessarily budget because we went through a year and a half of stringent budgeting. So I pretty much know when we go out to eat, that's one of our biggest expenses. When we go out to eat, how many times, like if it's Wednesday and we've hit that number already, I already know in the back of my, how much each meal is going to cost. So I'm kind of doing that math. So I'm not necessarily budgeting, writing everything down or looking at Mint or anything like that, that's calculating all of that, but I will mentally make note of it for a season. And then we'll get real strict. And for a season, we'll be real strict and we'll have this explosion of savings. And then we'll make another, usually that leads up to another acquisition, another rental property. And then we'll relax for a little bit. So it's, personally, I probably could be a little bit more disciplined in that. And I think that's where a potential coach could help me out, right? Because I kind of imagine like when I think of a coach, I'm thinking of like a high school football coach who's going to make sure you're doing your workouts, who's going to be running drills with you, who's going to come up and tell you what drills you need to run, and those sorts of things. And right now I don't have that. It's kind of been on myself, and I've been probably a little bit more relaxed than I normally am for the last year or so. So when I found that out about your coaching business, like, okay, this is really about me. It's not necessarily try to promote Holly, it's in her book, but it's about do I need a financial coach? But so that's, you mentioned something else too about coaching folks and how you discover, how did you word it, about what you want out of life, not necessarily what you want. I think what triggered in my mind was your calling, right? Is that you coach volleyball, now you're coaching people on their finance, and I'd imagine the results you see when somebody does really good, or when you just hear or see somebody following your advice, how rewarding that is. I've started doing that with our mastermind group, which has led to another job opportunity I'm seeking right now that I've discovered about myself. I didn't know this. I never really had a chance to coach, but I get a lot out of just helping other people and seeing them succeed is and it's self-serving too, because the more time I talk to them about whatever they're trying to do real estate wise, the more it's just practice for me, right? It's just drills. So the other thing you talked about was debt can be a tool, which is not a very popular opinion amongst a lot of financial advisors. I know you're not an advisor, you're a coach, right? So let's talk about that, because I believe that too. Now, I'll say that I started, before we dove into this real estate investing pretty heavy, I was going to say full-time, but we're not full-time yet. We went through the baby steps of Dave Ramsey, I think like 6 or 7, which he's the ultimate no debt guy, right? So we paid off all our debt. The only debt that we have now is our mortgages on our rental properties, and we still pay off everything every month. But we did it by still holding on to our credit cards, because we have some cards that provide some really good rewards. And so I don't subscribe to that part of his plan, but I don't think we would be where we're at if we wouldn't have done several of those steps. So let's talk about how debt can be used as a tool, and how do you coach folks to use debt as a tool?
Yes. And I love that you're talking about seasons, because wealth building does come down to seasons, especially for those who are working and building wealth alongside that, right?
Yep.
So as an example, Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he actually bought his first real estate with credit cards.
Yeah.
He bought 4 condos and used a credit card as a down payment, $40,000, $10,000 each. Then he paid it back right away. But here's the thing, there's a difference between non-performing debt and debt that could potentially be performing. So what I mean by non-performing debt is like credit card debt. It's high interest rate. You used cards to buy things that go down in value or don't have value over time, like food, gas, plastic things from Target that you're just going to throw away the next day.
Right.
That's really the debt that just is it can wreck a budget, and it can really be a detriment to building wealth. And I'm a fan of Dave Ramsey. I took his course way back in the day when I was in my early 20s. He's one of the first people that I started listening to when it came to money. And then of course I started, reading Tony Robbins and reading Robert Kiyosaki, and then David Bach. And then of course there are hundreds of other really great financial authors out there. So as an example of using debt as a tool, you might have, for example, a HELOC. Okay. Now we cannot write off the interest on a HELOC. So that's kind of unfortunate, but it also can serve as a way to improve a property that you already own and potentially increase your rental rates or your sell price. And so, you might spend 20 grand and be paying, say, let's just call it 6% for a few months. But once the house is sold or the house is rented, you start paying that debt back right away. I mean, paying debt back is always going to be the highest priority of your dollars, unless it's a ridiculously low APR, because then you have to think cash is king.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a time in your life when you need cash. And this is why when I talk about the pillars of financial independence, I'm talking about taking your entire impact factor every single month. And yes, if you have high interest rate debt, the majority of that is going to be going towards crushing your debt and eliminating it. But at the same time, as any adult, whether you have kids or you don't, you have a car or you don't, you have assets or you don't, you're going to need to take care of yourself, and you're going to need some money for something, whether it's a medical bill, new car tires, hot water heater, whatever it is, you're always going to need money. And so, if you're totally focused on just eliminating your debt and you have no savings, then you're going to have to always fall back on your debt. And so I want to help people get in the position where every single month they're literally watching their assets grow because their impact factor's on autopilot. Their debt's going away just like that. I recommend 3 savings accounts, and there's a reason for it.
Okay.
But those savings accounts are growing every single month. Retirement accounts, the ones that you need. And when I say you, everyone has a different financial situation. So you can't just read a book and, apply that structure to your personal finances, because, some people need life insurance, some people don't. Some people need a lot more savings than others because they have a higher risk lifestyle, like the possibility of losing their job or injury or health. And so all of these should be accounted for when you're on that path of building wealth and building the pillars of financial independence. And really the pillars just come down to eliminating your non-performing debt, building your savings, saving for retirement in the right accounts and the right amount, investing, you've got to make your money grow.
Yep.
And that's it, and then from there, it's about wealth building. Once you have those pillars in place and your accounts are growing every single month, you're free.
Yeah.
And then all the money that was going towards debt and lighthouse fund, now you take that, put that into your investment account. Maybe it's a holding tank for a piece of real estate, or a holding tank for a business that you're either bootstrapping yourself or you want to invest in, or any of the other million investment opportunities that there are that you don't know about unless you have a certain amount of social capital or just ingenuity and you want to go out there and look for opportunities. Yeah.
So you mentioned HELOC, which we're going through the process right now of applying for a home equity line of credit for this house, our primary residence. Bought it a year ago. We've put about 80, 90 into it, and it has shot up in value. But I don't know if I want to do a home equity line of credit or do a cash out refinance. Because I love the idea of home equity line of credit, because it's basically just a big credit card that's sitting there waiting for me to use it. Right. And I'm not charging interest on anything that I haven't used yet. But something you just said triggered, well, maybe I'm looking at this wrong, because, and the reason why we're applying now is I think within about 12 to 18 months, we're going to see a little bit downturn in the real estate market. That's what my crystal ball is telling me. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So there are going to be bigger opportunities for us to take advantage of. If our house is victim of what I think is coming, I would rather go ahead and have that money available now, or get it in place. So we're kind of sitting on some cash or cash equivalent. Right. But you just said, with a HELOC, you cannot claim the interest for a tax deduction. But on a cash out refinance, I would be able to do that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to say which one you would prefer, because I know I left a lot of variables out of that, that equation, because I don't have them yet. Right. We're just now starting this process. But let's just say I get a 6% HELOC, or which is money I'm not going to use until I'm ready to buy something. Or I go ahead and do a cash out refinance where I'm going to get a 4.5%, maybe 5%. Let's just say 5, because I think that's more realistic. A 5% 30-year fixed amortization loan. But I'm not going to use that money for probably another year and a half. How do I determine what's the best use of that money? Does that make sense? And I know
It makes a lot of sense. It's a great question to be asking, especially for a real estate investor, right? Because it's about the usability of your money today,
yeah,
and the leveraging power that you have of tomorrow. I can't give you an answer without knowing the full picture and knowing what, when those dollars are going to be used. But what I can say about a HELOC is that, you get it and you don't have to use it. And you can use money. You can use your HELOC for in lots of different ways. If you did a cash out refi, then guaranteed you're paying interest no matter what. And in the game of personal finance, I get this question all the time. Holly, is it better for me to pay down my mortgage or use that extra money to invest in the market?
Yep.
Right? Because if you can get a return in the market above 12% and your mortgage rate is at, 5 or 6%, well, then you have the potential to earn, let's just use the numbers, 6% on the loan and 12% on the potential returns. That's a gain of 6% if you choose to invest it instead of pay down your mortgage. But here's the thing.
Big but.
Interest is guaranteed. You're paying interest no matter what. Are returns guaranteed? No. The market can change at any time. And that's why I'm always looking for ways to insulate myself against the potential of the future
risk,
but also being mindful that at any point in time, I might want to buy a property. There might be a great deal in Colorado and I want to be primed to purchase that.
Yep.
So, having cash is powerful.
Yeah. Cash is king, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the answer to that question is it depends, right? Which is a lot of answers we get.
Sorry, Jay.
No, I fully expected that. And quite frankly, if you came out and you said, well, I would do this, and you were very confident in your answer, then I would kind of sit back and scratch my head and be like, I didn't give her enough information for her to say, this is what you should do. So it's not that I was testing you. It sounded like that's what I was doing, and I didn't mean for that to sound.
Yeah, no, that's okay. When people ask me, people will ask after I do talks or workshops, they'll come up with a very specific question.
Yeah.
And my style is to ask a lot of questions because I need to understand all of the pieces, and I need to understand where do you want to be in 5 years? Because, for someone back in the day, I used to work with people who are more in a crisis, our businesses evolve over the years. Right. And so when I first started my business, which it became a business in 2012, I had people who would come to me who were negative each month. And so that meant that they were really in dire straits. And, you know, I had a gal who had 20 something $1,000 of a maxed out credit card at, I don't know, 20% or something like that. And her interest rate
Wow.
had adjusted from 10 to 20%. Well, she was a librarian, you know, and
Mm.
she was not spending frivolously. She was living on the edge already and just, you know, managed her money, but then maxed out this card, and then the rate went up, and then all of a sudden she was negative. So she came to me and, you know, she's like, what do I do? And there was not any room in her budget to trim expenses. I mean, her budget was bare bones.
Yeah.
And increasing her income is something that she just was not ready to look at doing. You know, all of her hours were at the library, and that's the life that she wanted to live. And so the option was to settle her debt. There are pros and cons to that. And, you know, we ended up settling that debt. Did it wreck her credit? Yes. And so I had to be very clear, knowing that if that's the path that she chose to go down, that she wasn't going to need to buy something in the next 2 to 3 to 4 years, because during those times she was going to need to rebuild her credit. So, you know, credit is just a moment in time. And if you look at it that way, then you have a lot more options available to you. And in the end, it was a really good decision for her. And now that settlement is, you know, if it's not off her credit yet, it's pretty close to being off her credit. And she was able to feed herself and get herself to work in the meantime. And that's really what it comes down to, is like, money is great. Money is fun. Money makes our lives better. But ultimately, the goal of a business or any endeavor that you do, its job is to put money into your personal bank account. So if you're looking at investing in real estate because you think it's cool, you know, it is. It's really
It is.
cool.
Well, there's parts of it that are cool, and then there's parts of it that are sexy, like the flipping guys. They're pretty sexy. I'm not one of those folks. You know, I'm the old boring, hey, let's buy a property, let's hold on to it for a few years and see what we want to do with it. But it's amazing how quickly you can build wealth by investing in the right piece of real estate. Right.
Yeah. The right piece of real estate. Well said.
Yeah. Because
it matters. You make money in real estate when you buy.
You do. I'm a firm believer of that. And I had to get one under my belt. Was the first one that I didn't do that. So I know you're right. You know,
you live and you learn.
You do, which was in 2006, by the way, when I bought that property. So, so you you threw a lot at me there, and I'm trying to digest it because I didn't make as many notes as I should have. But you said something earlier. You said something earlier about that may trigger the thought about one of my. Okay, I'm just going to cut all that babbling out right there. You said something earlier about that jarred my memory. I talked to a guy last week, and he's introduced me to this infinite banking strategy. Are you familiar with that? So I walked away from that conversation more confused than I went into it, because it's like money just magically appears out of nowhere. And I wanted to, so with you being a financial coach, I was like, hey, do you know about this? Have you talked to folks? And when you coach people, do you tell them to do it? And
great question.
And for people who are not, or can't see you right now, because I'll put this on YouTube as well. Your smile just went from ear to ear. So apparently this is something you're excited about, one way or the other. So tell me, what's your thoughts on the infinite banking strategy? Because it's a new concept, right?
It's no, it's not a new concept. It's actually been around for a very long time. It's just one of those secrets.
Okay. It's a well-building secret, right?
And it is very complicated. So I'm a little hesitant to talk about it myself, because I like to be the guinea pig in my business, and I don't recommend things to clients unless I've tried them myself. And the theory behind infinite banking is
by the way, are you sitting on an exercise ball?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just no, because you're rolling back and forth, you're bouncing up and down. I was like, what is she doing? Like,
I'm sitting.
Okay, I was just trying to figure out what was going on. I was like, there's got to be something going on. So that's anyway. That's how my mind works. So you're getting a core workout while we're having this conversation.
Well, half the day I'm on the ball and half the day I'm in a chair.
Okay.
And sometimes I'm on the floor. I'm all over the place.
Yeah. Well, you got to keep the core strong for those 14ers, right? That's
right. That's right.
All right. So get back on point here.
Okay.
Sorry. I do that a lot. Infinite banking strategy. You were talking about, you want to be the guinea pig, but you're really excited about this concept.
Yes. And so I'm kind of hesitant to talk about it. I'm
Okay.
not even sure if I want you to air this portion of it, because I can't really in an educated way give people the nuts and bolts of how infinite banking works. But my
Okay. Well, let's
understanding of
not
it
go
is,
into that much detail. Let's just talk about uh, why you're excited about it.
well, in the end, with infinite banking, you end up with a pile of money to use however you want. And it is secured with a life insurance policy.
Yeah.
And a big life insurance policy, like 600, 700, 800, maybe $1 million. And the way to get to that point, to have a cash value life insurance policy that is that big, is through a Hillock.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, we'll leave it at that. I don't want to put you in any kind of trouble or get myself in trouble. I think that what my lawyer likes to say, or wants me to say, is this conversation is for entertainment purposes only. Right? Seek out financial advisors and legal professionals before you do anything that you may think we implied on this podcast. All right. So I know we're running up on time, but I want to dive into this blog post you recently put out there on financialimpact.com, was the unique challenges high earners face. You've got 5 points on there. Number 1 was you're good at making money but not managing it. Number 2 is you have cash flow but no assets. It's amazing. You don't know where your money is going. Number 4 is you're paying too much in taxes. Number 5, you don't have a plan, strategy, or system. So I want to touch on number 2, 4, and 5. Okay. But before we do that, let's put some parameters around what is a high earner. Monetary wise, what do you consider a high earner? Is it a 6-figure? Is it a small 6-figure person? Is it 7? What's that number?
Generally 100K and up. I mean, really a high earner is going to be someone who's making, 6 figures and up.
Or is it relative to the crowd?
I work with people who are making $250,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, and they're literally paycheck to paycheck.
Which is amazing to me, but I think it's all relative, right? As far as I think it goes, and I think a lot of it goes back to that financial education, right?
Yes.
And because you and I are no different than them as far as how much education we got when we received when we were. I hate the word guide. I don't know why. So every time I say it frequently, I try to correct myself. But the thing is that we beat that dead horse. I mean, there's no financial education in the U.S.'s educational system. So when I hear that, it doesn't shock me as much. Now, for everybody else who hears, for a lot of other folks, that's going to be like, well, how do they, they're because what they're doing is they're in the back of their mind, or at least I used to do this too, is they take their salary and they put in that multiple of whatever that number is, right? Well, if somebody's making 500,000 and they're making paycheck to paycheck and I'm only making 50,000, how is somebody who makes 10 times more? I did that math right. I did that second grade math right. How is somebody who's making 10 times more than me living paycheck to paycheck? And they do that math, but there's a lot of variables in there that they don't go over. So I want to focus on the cash flow, but no assets, right? So the definition of an asset is something that generates money for you, right? Do you consider your primary house an asset?
Absolutely. Okay. I do, because my primary house is an asset. I actually short-term rent. I live in a huge house and I turn my basement into a bungalow. And I rent the second and third floor. I do Airbnb.
Awesome. Okay.
But I'm going to caveat that and say, if I lived in my whole house and I didn't earn any income from it and I lived here by myself, it would be a liability. Absolutely. Because that's just money out with interest.
Yeah.
Every month.
And so I've had this discussion several times. and we, we'll buy how this is our third kind of live-in flip. No, excuse me, this is our second live-in flip. The previous house we were at, we just timed the market right. And we walked away. We owned the house for 3 years. We put maybe 10 grand into it, and we walked away with a little over 100,000 in equity. Now, when I tell people that story, they're like, well, your house was definitely an asset. I'm like, well, I agree in that scenario, but it's not, your primary residence is not necessarily always an asset, right? So do you agree, like in that, and I left a bunch of variables out there of what our mortgage was, what our tax deduction was on our mortgage and all that. But do you agree in that scenario where we own a house for a few years, we put the minimum down payment down, right? We put minimum improvements in, and we walk away with 100,000. Is that considered an asset?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. A live-in flip. I like your lingo. This is how my family has built our real estate portfolio.
I was hoping you'd say empire, because then I would say,
I was going to say empire. But what is an empire? Like, to me, it's a little empire. To some, it's a huge empire. And then to others, it's like, oh, you only have 15 in your family. Well, we've got 50.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so what is an empire?
I don't know. I don't know.
All I'm saying is 15 is a lot to manage.
Yeah. Do you manage them yourself?
We have a whole team.
Okay. Yeah. I don't, one of the things that I stress in the W-2 capitalist is you outsource what you can outsource. You don't need to be taking the calls for toilet repairs and stuff like that. You need to focus on your job, being great at your job, and then focus on taking that money and putting it to work for you. Right. And earn, invest, repeat is our mantra that we try to impose on people. Okay.
And what you're talking about there too, it also comes down to the highest and best use of your time. And really, and this is part of what I'm coaching people, is to really consider, like, where are you going to be the most valuable on a day-to-day basis in terms of making money? Like, I call it your money maker. Like, for me, my money maker is my brain.
Yeah.
But for someone
for most people, it is their brain too. For others, it could be some other part of their body. I don't know.
Hey, that's right. I was going to say, it could be your hands. It could be something else. Yeah. Right? It could be the resources in your life. That could be your money maker. And so there's always the question of, and this is what we don't learn in the world and society, is to really take back control of what kind of life do I want to be living? And then how can I best spend my time and my money to create that life? It's all about the lifestyle design. And no, like, there's no reason that you should be fixing a toilet when you can be looking for deals.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm going to throw myself under the bus a little bit, because it's our live-in flip, right? And I put baseboards down in this entire first floor. We redid the entire first floor, but I put the baseboards down. It took me a couple of weekends. I'm going to leave it at a couple. Reality, it was probably like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But there is something about this, it's not a monetary thing. It was, hey, I need to do some mind numbing work, put my earphones in, listen to some podcasts, and just, no deadline. I just kind of need to work with my hands for a little bit. And I was telling the group, mastermind members, that I was doing that, and they were like, is that really they were giving me a hard time. They're like, is that the best use of your time? And I was like, right now it is, because it's a big stress reliever for me. Right. Yes. I'm doing work with my hands. I'm probably cutting my fingers up, it's because I'm clumsy, and when saws are involved, it gets bloody. But yeah, I definitely agree. You outsource what you can, but there are those times where you have, it's more than just money, right? The number 4 thing, and by the way, I may title this show something about moneymaker. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to how you say. Maybe it's use your moneymaker to build a real estate empire. I don't know. We'll figure that out. But number 4 on that blog post was paying too much in taxes. You had a spot on there about Roth IRAs, which I don't participate in right now, and I know you're probably going to get on to me for that. But how much should a real estate investor and I know it's all relative, but what is a target tax? I mean, not the tax bracket, but as far as, you get your taxes back and you say, okay, here's how much you were actually taxed last year. What is a target that or is there a target you focus for your players, right?
Well, I mean, as low as you can go, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
want to pay the least amount of taxes that you possibly can.
I didn't finish that
Legally.
question. Legally, you want to do that, but what is the lowest you try to get to not raise an audit flag?
Oh, well, I don't get into that at all. I let my
Okay.
CPA handle all that.
Okay.
My CPA does all that for me too.
Okay.
But it's always honest. For me, I never want to do anything that I'm going to have to look over my shoulder and wonder if it was the
Oh,
right
yeah.
decision. And when it comes to being an entrepreneur, being a real estate investor, there's a lot of gray in terms of what you can and can't write off. So I always
Right.
say, you want to work with a really good CPA who understands your situation. And when it comes to retirement accounts, like the Roth versus the traditional versus maybe you've got a W-2 job and you've also got a 401k and you've
Yep.
got a Roth option on that too. So again, there's no blanket like you should have a Roth, because sometimes in the chapters of your life, the ebb and the flow of building wealth and potentially buying real estate and making it grow, there's an investing period of your life where you're pouring money and maybe time into those investments, and you're having to hold on to every dollar that you have right now, right? Because
Right.
seasons. And then there are times when you're just totally flush and the money is coming in, and you're pondering your next move and you're trying to figure out, well, okay, how can I reduce my taxable income? So my feeling about the Roth and the traditional IRA is, and I've looked at all the numbers, I've talked to a ton of financial advisors about this, have both. Have the option to do both, because some years you might want to reduce your taxable income.
Yeah.
And other years you might just want to knock out, put $6,000 into your Roth, knowing, and this is what I love about the Roth, that no matter what, you can pull that money out when you reach retirement age tax-free.
Yeah.
That is huge.
That's a big step. That's probably why, like, I do the minimum for our 401k just to get the match, right? Because to me, that's just money. If you don't do that, that's just money. That's house money, right? Or whatever, how you want to phrase that. But I don't do the Roth because I don't want to wait until I'm 59 and a half or whatever the regulation is going to be at that time to get access to that money.
Yes.
So that's the season that I'm in right now, right? We'll see if that changes. And I totally forgot what I was going to say. I was going to pick on you for a minute. Oh, you said there's no blanket for Roth IRAs. And this is how my brain works. Immediately, I thought, hey, that would be a great marketing thing for Snuggie, right? The blanket that's also, I don't know. Do you know what a Snuggie is?
Oh yeah.
So if they just had, this is the blanket for Roth IRA, I don't know. I'm a dork. Anyway, so
Money nerds unite.
Yeah. So the last or the number 5 bullet point on that blog post is you don't, and we'll wrap it up because we're way over time, but you don't have a plan, strategy, or system. And this is where I think you come into play, right? As you help coach these folks. I mean, you imagine coaching volleyball, right? And I don't know anything about volleyball, so I'm going to switch to baseball real quick. But when you first start playing baseball, at least when I first started, I was like 4 or 5, right? The ball was on a tee. You got to take a couple of swings at it. Then you take off running, regardless if you were out, you got to stay on the base and run the next spot. Then you move up a league, right? So you're getting better strategy. You're getting into a better system. You're getting a better plan of how to excel at that sport. And you can probably give a volleyball analogy that I would understand. I don't know anything about it. I imagine you have clients that are T-ball-esque, right? Where you're having to put the ball up on the tee for them to swing at. And then there's others that you're throwing the ball at them. It's a little bit more difficult. So how does somebody start getting on a correct plan? And then when do they know? Because basically in baseball, it's age, right? You go to 4 to 6 year old, then you go to little league, and then you go to the next one, like 13 and under. And then you go to high school ball. It's age driven that says, hey, this is when you should go to the next league. But back to the financial educational gap, there is no, and I'm going all over the world to try to get to this question. There is no set in stone qualifications to say, look, you have successfully conquered this league. You need to bump up in your financial education league, right? So how do you know when to push somebody into the next league? Say, look, man, you've done it, or lady, you've done everything you can in this league. You've conquered it. You are the world champion at T-ball. You need to bump up to the little league. And here's what we're going to do. How do you know how to do that? Or when do you know to do that? Does that make sense?
It does. It's a great question.
And is the answer, it depends?
The answer is, we're all in a different place financially. And when it comes to money, it's people come to me because they, either they don't know what to do with their money, or they're afraid of money, or money's running their life and they don't know how to, figure it out. So it's really comes down to how much energy, how much time does someone want to put into getting to the next level? Because for some, it's just about like getting comfortable, just knowing that no matter what, your finances are on autopilot. Every month your assets are growing. Yeah. And if from where you are, based on the income that you're already earning, that's where I start. It's not like, oh, we're going to go buy real estate and we're going to go create another stream of income. No. What is the money that you're already earning right now? Let's put it to its highest and best use. Knock out these pillars. We're going to polish up your credit. We're going to tee you up so that you can go and buy property if that's what you want to do, or start your next endeavor if you want to quit the grind and follow your heart, whatever it is. But
so it's a life-changing event, basically.
Yeah. And, some people want to take the next step and go to the next level, and others just, they're comfortable where they are. And as long as their dollars are going where they need to go, that's enough. And that's fine. Everyone's in a different place, and the other thing you asked me earlier is how do I work with people? Some people don't want to work with me for 3 months. It's like, no, I just want to plan. I want to know, where am I and what do I need to do to get to the next level? Just give it to me straight. So I have a product for that. I call it the impact session, and we meet for 3 hours with a follow-up 2 weeks later. And I produce a report, and it's like, here are the step-by-step instructions for how you get to where you want to go.
Yeah. And so it's funny you said that, because I've been, so I launched the mastermind. More about me. I'm sorry. But this kind of relates to what you're saying, is that in November, I launched the mastermind and got 20 folks in there who are just killing it, to the point our last call was like, look, so every call we have an accountability hot seat. We put one member on there. We talk about how they've been tracking their goals and whatnot. And a lot of folks have been so successful. They're like, I don't know what to do next, and I've been thinking, well, maybe this is just a 3-week course that I need to spin off a different product and say, look, here's a 3-week course. I'm going to put you on this, and this is going to, and not 3-week, 3-month course. I'm going to put you on this, and then you decide if you want to continue on or not, because it is, once you establish that baseline and they accept and adopt the system, I've been amazed at the progress they've made, right? And the successful things they've been able to do. So we have a weekly call. There's a lot of members who can't make the weekly call because they're out doing the things they committed to do. And that's the highest and best use of their time. And I get it. And I'm glad to have coached them and pushed them on their way and, mentored them to say, look, that makes me, pound my chest a little bit, but I'm also like, how do I get this? How do I take this business to the next level? So it's interesting to hear you say that, because it's very similar, swim lanes, so to speak.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, money is an adventure, and it's like life, the more you learn, the more you grow, the more you want to grow, and you just keep meeting new people, new ideas, new inspiration. You change, you decide to go in a different direction. Yeah. And it's all very exciting. And it does start with the people you're spending time with and learning from.
Yeah.
And I have to say, what really has taken my business to the next level, and my investing for that matter, is hiring a coach and surrounding myself with people who are super excited about it. And they talk about things that I'm interested in, but in a different way. And it's
Yes.
just like going up a ladder. You just keep learning
Yeah.
things.
That's the thing about the mastermind is people, cause I ask for feedback. Hey, what can we do different? What can you improve? What do you like? And the biggest thing they like about, or the feedback that I got this last quarter was, I just like being around like-minded people. They're saying the same thing, but in a different way. And it's making those light bulbs go off like, oh yeah, it's not rocket science. It is what we're doing. We all know how to do this. It's just when it's put in a different verbiage, it clicks for other people. So it's, I'm sitting here thinking we've been talking a lot about seasons and different seasons for investors and financial spots in people's lives. Maybe that, you and I are both in the same seat. Maybe our courses should be based on the seasons, right? And we can put those people, well, you're in winter, you're in summer, you're in spring, you're in fall. Maybe there's a service or product that we should collaborate on or something like that. I don't know. My mind's going. You got my
Oh
mind.
yeah. I mean, I'm all about collaborating with people. I'm working on a course right now with the founder of Well Wallet, working on an e-course, and it's just for the people who, what's that?
Who is Well Wallet? Why does that
Well
sound
Wallet is
familiar?
a financial wellness tool. It's like Mint.
Okay.
It's a spend tracker. It's a conscious company,
Uh,
a PBC, Public Benefit Corporation.
there's, I don't know. I got this confused look on my face because that for some reason, Well Wallet is registering, but it's none of that you just mentioned. Maybe I'm connected to it in a different way. Maybe that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe I'm not connected to it at all. And I'm confused, and that's why I look this way. All right.
But that, this is why we created the course together, is because we saw a gap. There's a gap where for people who are working a full-time job and
Yeah.
they want to get out of it. And so the course is called Quit the Grind and Follow Your Heart. And maybe there's a collaboration for us around the seasons that has to do with real estate investing or going to the next level.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's definitely want to follow up on that. That's we can take that offline. So, so we're way over time. I think we scheduled like 20 minutes for this, and it's been an hour and 10 minutes, which I'm okay with. I'm taking a long lunch. But thank you very much, Holly. Where can people find out more about you? Can they register to find out when the book's coming out? Because I definitely want a copy. If it's too much for me to ask for an assigned copy, then I'll.
Yes. Yes, I am signing copies when it's published. It will be published later this year, and you can find me at financialimpact.com.
Okay, I'll link to that in the show notes. And you're also on Instagram. Tell me where you're. Facebook.
And
Obviously,
LinkedIn.
Facebook. That's how we're connected, right? Facebook, yep. Instagram,
LinkedIn.
And is it all at Light About Money, or is that just Facebook and Instagram?
So Financial Impact on Facebook is Light About Money. The handle is Light About Money. And you can also find me on Facebook at Holly Morphew.
Holly Morphew. Awesome. Holly, thank you very much. And I will talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, 4 things before you get out of here today. Number 1, thank you for watching. Sincerely appreciate that. It helps with our ratings with YouTube and all that. And along those lines, speaking of helping with ratings, if you could just hit that like button for me, the little thumbs up, and also subscribe. If you're not already a subscriber, if you are a subscriber, thank you very much. I appreciate that. We are trying to grow the presence here on YouTube, and this is you liking, subscribing, and commenting helps with that whole algorithm piece. So let us know. It also helps me know what kind of content you're interested in. And in the comment section, if you just list that one gold nugget that you took away from today's episode, that would really help me out and engage, right? I'll get an alert when you say something about the episode today, when you make it in the comment, and I will respond to you right away. And it'll be me. It won't be anybody else, I promise. And also, I can't let you get out of here today. This is point number 3, I think, for, I can't let you get out here today, but highlighting this affiliate for us, Dealcheck, incredible piece of software, whether you're doing burrs, you're doing fix and flips, you're doing buying holds, and buying holds is single family and multifamily. I used it last week to underwrite an 8-unit deal, and I'm going to be using it for any of our properties up to a certain number. Probably after the 50 range, I get my real heavy duty calculator out that I'll use that, but I'm also going to then take that and put it in the Dealcheck, because the graphs that and just the amount of data they put into the reports that you can provide banks. Hell, I even sent one to a seller. I was like, here's the number. I know you're probably not going to be happy about it, but here's why I sent it to you, because I'm trying to hit these numbers, and we're currently negotiating on that deal. So we'll see what happens. But we have an affiliate code in the description below. Make sure you use that. If you don't, just go to dealcheck.io from any browser, and you can be able to sign up there. Signing up is free, right? So you can use it. You only start paying for it once you need to start unlocking pieces of software. For what I do with it, I'm a buy and hold guy, so from what I need, it's $5 a month when I use the promo code W2CAP. So make sure, whether you use our affiliate link or not, that you use that promo code, because it's going to give you 25% off either the monthly subscription you sign up for, or the annual. They've got 2 different options. The annual gives you a little bit better discount anyway. The fourth thing is Operation Underground Railroad. If you've listened to anything that I've been doing for the last year, you know that I highly support this organization. Again, the promo code W2CAP, you can text that to 41404, and you're going to get an immediate response link back to our fundraiser page, so you can see what we're doing for them. But also from there, you can hop over and see what all they're about. Highly recommend you follow these guys on social media and everything like that, because they're just ridding the world of not only human trafficking, but more specifically child sex trafficking, which is the most disgusting thing that I can ever think of, that this goes on. My heart goes out to those kids, and that's why I support them, right? Having 3 of my own, I just can't imagine them being in that environment. I'll give you a bonus. Okay, that was the 4 things, right? So like, follow, subscribe is number 1. 2, Dealcheck was number 2, I think. I'm losing count here. O.U.R was number 3. The 5th, whatever the next number is, the 4th or 5th thing, is my hat has been crooked this entire time, and I'm not going to do anything about it. It's fine. It's okay. All right. On a serious note, let's get to work.